and it is 5:30 p.m. Because this is an electronic meeting, we will conduct all votes by roll call, and we'll go ahead and do attendance by roll call. Clerk Treasurer Aldrich.
Anita Wehrling.
Present.
Dick Bradshaw. Shane Evans.
Present. And Mr. Bradshaw, I believe, is up in Wisconsin with family this week. So we'll move first to the minutes from the meeting of May 18th, 2020. With any additions, subtractions, deletions, or amendments to be made to this set of minutes?
None.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I will second. All those in favor? Oh, nope, I'll do roll call. Anita Wehrling?
Aye.
And I am an aye. We'll move next to claims. We have claims in the amount of $288,713.20. Ms. Wehrling, were there any questions regarding the claims?
So on page, I believe it's page 9, the paving, is that for the financial, First Financial Bank patching and the alley paving there, or what is that, those two amounts? And Department Fund 201 and 202. It's Milestone Contractors. The first one is $2,772, and the second one is close to $9,000.
So that's engineering. That's an encumbrance from last year that for some reason they didn't give us an invoice for it until like last week or the week before. But they put together plan sets to do drainage work up on Tally Ho, Terrace Lane, part of Masonic, as well as some plans for road work as well. But it was mostly to get rid of the water on those streets.
Right.
So we have some plans that we could use to apply for community crossings either this year or in future years if we so desire.
Okay, so this is work that was done last year, but that they have not invoiced it for, is that correct?
It's work that had started last year and didn't complete until this year.
This year, okay.
Did you have any other questions regarding the claims?
That was it.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second, and I will call the question via roll call. Ms. Wehrling?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. The motion carries 2-0. We'll move next to new business. We have a quote for a mower, and I believe Superintendent Lyons sent an email regarding the mower. His current one, I believe, has close to 2,000 miles on it and is, I believe, 9 years old. The quote for this mower, it's an Exmark 60-inch deck from Bobcat Lafayette, would be $10,649. This mower is, besides the suspension platform, I believe it is the same as all the other mowers the street department has, so their parts are interchangeable. You can buy all the same filters or whatever maintenance equipment that you need for each of the mowers. Ms. Wehrling, did you have any questions regarding this
Remind me
proposal?
again how old the current,
I believe it is 9 years old. I believe it was a 2011.
and this is coming from, this is basically a budgeted amount for equipment replacement. Is that correct?
This would come from the Parks Rotary Fund.
At Parks Rotary, okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, I think that covers it. And I will move to approve the purchase of the Laser ZX Series 60-inch mower from
I will make a second.
Lafayette.
Motion in a second. Ms. Wehrling, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
I will call the question as to the purchase of the mower. Ms. Wehrling?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you. We'll move next to the stage gauge. So years ago, the city had, well, not the city, but USGS had a stage gauge on US 421 over the Wabash River. Our current O&M manual for the operation of the levees dictates that we follow the elevation of the river in determining when to close our sluice gates.
Mhm.
The old stage gauge was taken down. What the city of Delphi has been doing is essentially driving the ditches to see how much water is coming in and closing the sluice gates when we believe it's about time. Now, there's been no flooding on the backside, or no excessive flooding on the backside, but optimally closing those gates can ensure that as much water as possible leaves the city side of the levee before water starts rushing in from the river side of the levee. So USGS, I believe, had their funding cut a few years ago. So what they require now is local unit of government to purchase and pay for the annual operation and maintenance of the stage gauge. And I believe that means they're coming in every 60 days. It was 60 or 90 days to calibrate that equipment and check and make sure that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. That equipment, there is one in Deer Creek, a couple miles upstream from Delphi. Pretty neat equipment. You could actually get text messages sent to your phone whenever the water levels are above a certain point.
Is that the one by Wilson Bridge?
Yes.
Mhm.
So there's one, so you can actually go on the USGS website and get text messages sent to your phone if water levels get above a certain height, and you can dictate what you want that height to be when you send it to you. The cost for the initial upfront installation cost for the stage gauge, I believe, is $16,000. It was somewhere between 15 and 16. I believe it's closer to 16. USGS should be able to match that with $8,000. So our upfront cost would be $8,000. And then the annual operation and maintenance fee is $6,000, and the Carroll County Commissioners have committed half of that annually for the next 5 years. We still would need the city council to approve the 5-year operation and maintenance plan because it's appropriating funds for more than just this budget year.
Right.
But what I would ask from the board would be to authorize me to execute a contract with USGS for the purchase and annual O&M for this stage gauge.
So where would the funding for the purchase of the equipment, what budget item would that come from? And then for the maintenance, yearly
Both
maintenance?
the maintenance would come from the flood control line item of the general fund within the general department. So each year for the past few years, there's been $25,000 a year budgeted into that flood control line item.
And what else is it used for?
This year we've used it for televising and cleaning some pipes that go under the levee. If we have pump repair on the pump station down there by Save-A-Lot, we would take it out of the flood control line item. There's some other maintenance agreements that I think we take out of there. We have some sensors or alarms within the pump control itself, and I believe we take annual maintenance plans out of that.
Okay.
Do you have any
And
other questions?
the work that has been done on the levee, and basically the levee control really requires that we have something of this sort to, otherwise you're relying on individuals to drive the ditches to see what the water level is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. And will this equipment, this gauge, you've indicated that the one at Wilson Bridge can send text messages. Will this one as well?
Yes, ma'am. This one will also be able to forecast river levels. So the Deer Creek one does at times, but it doesn't do well. It seems like there's a stage gauge down in Lafayette, and it more accurately predicts river levels. So this will have a forecasting tool on it. It will show up on the USGS website, so anybody at any time can get on there and see. Normally the data is 30 minutes to an hour delayed, but you can get on there and see that data.
So can this send an alert then to personnel to let them know what the status is and that the floodgates need to be closed, or is it an automatic closure?
No, so the street superintendent would go on the website, and actually anybody could go on the website and sign up to get the alert. So he would use the levee operations plan, determine I think it was 21 feet. I want to say the height was, but I'm not 100% sure about that. You figure out whatever that height is that dictates when we close one sluice gate. I think it's different height for another sluice gate. And then he would set, the notice to 2 or 3 or 4 feet below that, depending on how he wanted to do it.
Okay. Okay, I think that answers the questions that I have. I move to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract for the purchase of the stage gauge and for the annual monitoring fee and maintenance fee.
All right. I will second that motion. And Anita will be subjected upon the city council approving the 5-year plan tonight. Anita, any other discussion?
No, thank you.
All right. So I will call the question as to authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with USGS for the purchase, installation, and annual maintenance fee for stage gauge. Ms. Worley?
I'm an aye.
And I am an aye. With that, that's all I had for business. Ms. Worling, do you have anything?
I do not, thank you.
All right. Right now, the governor hasn't issued anything further that would permit us to meet electronically beyond, I believe it's June 3rd or 4th. So at this time, our plan will be to continue meeting at the community center on the 1st and 3rd Mondays at 5:30 p.m. Unless there's a holiday, then we move to Tuesday. If he sends out another executive order, in the next couple of days that extends our ability to meet electronically, I'll let the board know that. But at this time, we plan on meeting in person at the community center 2 weeks from today.
And that still will have the requirements of social distancing and masks would be appropriate, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. All right. Clerk Treasurer Aldrich, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
All right. I'll move to public comment. Ms. Connor?
I believe Anita had asked for what fund the maintenance and the equipment was going to be paid for the stage gauge. I did hear a response for the maintenance. I don't know if I missed for the equipment. What fund
They were both the flood control line item.
both of them. Okay, thank you. And I have a question concerning the claims tonight for the small businesses. Are you doing that now or later?
Go ahead.
Have those checks already been cut,
Yes.
and have they been delivered?
Yes.
And they're just being approved tonight?
Correct. They were pre-approved by the board.
The claims weren't, but the claims weren't pre-approved, correct?
It was pre-approved checks to the businesses. We did that 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago, I believe.
I know 2 weeks ago you did the 20 businesses. I know tonight was the 16. And that came from the general fund for the 16 that were already paid, correct?
But
Came from where?
it appears on here that it comes from the COVID-19 or COVID CDBG fund, but that money is backed by general fund dollars.
Okay. I wanted to ask Leanne if the 8 purchases for flowers and mulch from Pearson's have all been paid.
Yes.
And how were the ones that were on the claims for T-Bird paid to Pearson's?
You got copies of the APVs. You requested those, Gail. It shows that those 2 that was done, or the 3 that was done wrong with T-Bird, was corrected on the docket and paid to Pearson's. Those are the APVs you requested out of the 5.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for that. I'm just wondering how it was approved and paid, because at the last Board of Works meeting, the docket was approved as it stood. It was not approved as corrected.
It was noted in the discussion that those were incorrect, and whether it was formally stated or not, it seemed the general consensus was those should be paid to Pearson's and not T3.
Right.
So the amount
I just
that was,
wondered if something is supposed. Go ahead.
the amount that was paid did not change on the docket at all. The only thing that changed on the docket was the vendors, and it was discussed at the meeting that it was incorrect as it stood.
Right, I was there and I know it was just, I was just wondering why it wasn't, when that set of claims was approved, why it wasn't approved with corrections and instead of just approved as it was.
I think that there was part of the discussion, and maybe we should go to recording our meetings, because during that meeting I said there would have to be a change of venue made, of vendors numbers made. So I think
It was recorded and I looked at the recording and it was just noted that it was incorrect. And that's why I'm asking, because nothing was formalized to actually ask for it to be changed. And I've noticed in past meetings, when those claims are approved, it says they're approved with correction. So I'm just wondering if there's some formality that's supposed to be done a certain way when there's a correction needed.
I know of no formality. I guess it's the comfort level of the board, but I think it was pretty well established at the last meeting that those were erroneous.
Okay. Then I have a question for Mrs. Whirling. On the allowance of accounts payable vouchers that you and Dick and Shane sign at the end of these meetings, it says you've examined the account payable vouchers. Can you tell me when you do that and where you do that?
I don't always do that, I can tell you, because I haven't been into the building.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, Councilman Nelson?
I have nothing.
Debbie, you want to use the chat feature?
Can't get it.
All right, I don't see anything showing up from Debbie. So there's one last motion to be made.
Move to adjourn.
Full second, and I'll call the question. Ms. Whirling?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Motion passes. It is 5:48 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.